What's up, Walking Dead friends and family? It's Brian Castrillo, and it's time for another review. This is Fear the Walking Dead. Follow me. This is episode 9, and I want to start off by saying that I've been reading a lot of the comments out there on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And this episode, a lot of people, I guess, are not liking it because of the way I'm assuming because of the way we left off in the mid-season finale of 7. For 7A, and I honestly don't feel like it's warranted some of the hate that it's getting, because this was honestly a very beautiful written episode, and it adds a lot of character depth to Alicia, and the new character Paul, played by Wawa Snipe, who did an absolutely phenomenal job, and he's going to be my MVP for this episode. But also Alicia Debnam-Carey did a fantastic job. Those two played very well off each other. But I feel like this episode really adds to what Alicia is and what it's building up to. Now, I know a lot of people were upset. Maybe there wasn't, straight non-stop action into it. But if you want a good story, you have to have character development. Now, one of my favorite authors out there, Stephen King, probably one of the best character developers out of any. He's my favorite author, and I think his character development is amazing. But sometimes, I guess you can get lost in character development because you just want that nonstop action. But the character development is honestly, and not the action, is what makes, at least in my opinion, is what makes you really get attached to a character. Now, the action is great. I want that. That's got to be part of the story. But the character development is key. And they're kind of like, two peas in a pod. You need both. You cannot just have one or the other. But let's get down to this episode. Follow me. And we're starting off in It's a Dream. Alicia, of course, is still having these fever dreams. And it's kind of a really cool way to start this, because it's very Walking Dead-ish. Like, starts off with the tumbleweed. And I really enjoyed this opening scene. There's a lot of noise going on, sort of static in the background. And you see a walker in the back, like kind of in the far distance, and they show Alicia walking up with all these people. I didn't really know who they were at first, but we do learn who they are, and she's yelling and trying to run up to this walker. She's like, "Hey, slow down!" And it's in her mind that's Senator Vasquez. Of course, he's the one that she wanted to bring us to Padre. She thought that he would know and have sort of some resemblance of a memory. But then we come into Alicia. She's kind of waking up. We see her arm. Her arm kind of reminds me of Merle. How he had he could attach and detach the arm just like she can. It just kind of gave me a little memory of him. But you hear a lot of Beethoven music, and it's just kind of adding to the scene. She's coming downstairs. Everything's kind of foggy in this dream, and then she sees this door. It's kind of flapping in and out, and of course this music has got to be drawing something. And she comes into this room, and there's this walker heading straight towards who we find out later is Paul, again played by Warren Wawa Snipe, and he's coming up ready to bite him. And then Alicia's losing it. She has no idea like what's going on. She's weak, and she knocks over this radio, which alerts him. And he goes, eventually kills the walker, but she destroys the radio in the process. And he's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" But we're learning this guy who he was a musician, and he lost his hearing in the apocalypse, and he lost his wife, who we learn is kind of causing a lot of stress to him, and we found out later that she died basically from the atomic bomb that the bomb from the sub that the missile that hit, and he was talking to her on the radio, and all he can hear is her scream, and that's basically what's kind of driving his motive. And he has all these different music is basically just keeping him alive, and he makes this a lot of references to Beethoven, how Beethoven became a better musician after he lost his hearing, and he basically learns through sound. He made his whole house basically soundproof, and he needs Alicia to go help him fix this situation. But Alicia's having these dreams, and again, in the end of the dream, she goes up and she's running to get to this who she believes is Senator Vasquez, but ends up being the same walker that bit her. So something is driving it in her mind, and Paul ends up asking her, why are you saying Padre in this? And she's not really getting much over him. And there's a funny scene where he was feeding her haggis, which, ugh. But it was actually a vegetarian haggis for her, because in real life, Alicia Dedmon Carey is a vegetarian. But that scene just kind of made me laugh, because there's a Scottish theme going on, because that's kind of I believe his wife was Scottish, or I could be mistaken on that, but she played the bagpipes. That was her musical instrument that she did, and Arnie, we find out that Arnie's looking for Alicia, and he comes knocking on the door. They come in, and she was hitting the piano, which is really cool. He's kind of hitting on the keys, and of course, where she is, it's not making that tune. And he's like going to Paul. He's like, your thing is broken. What's wrong with that? Because he basically kind of knows Alicia's there. He just doesn't know where she is. We find out later that Alicia had, because this dream, was leading some of Arnie's people. This was the same group, that she was with earlier in the season, trying to find this Padre following Senator Vasquez, and it ended up getting him killed. And this is weighing heavy on Alicia, this is the character she is. She's always been around strong people like Madison, Morgan, her brother Nick, and people who are always, they can make a decision, no problem. And she always questioned herself whether or not she was really ready to lead. And then she makes this big mistake, which costs a lot of people's lives. And it's now even, weighing heavier on her, because she doesn't think that she should be a leader. And Arnie is basically saying the same thing. He's coming to kill her because, he wants to make her pay for that. And they end up going to this concert hall, being Paul and Alicia, after Arnie had left. And that scene I really enjoyed. That's where you really got to learn who this Paul character was, about his wife, and the life that he lived, and what happened. And Alicia and him are really bonding over this. Then Arnie comes, of course, catches him, and he grabs Alicia. He's trying to kill her, because Arnie's carrying all these walkers around who were the people that died because of Alicia's decision to do what she did. And Arnie's getting ready to, kill her, put her in with these walkers. Out comes Paul, and he shoots Arnie in the hand, so he's got this wounded hand. He takes out a couple of his people, but they end up getting away. But then what was really interesting is in the vehicle, Arnie's or not Arnie, but Paul is talking about how, his wife, how he always heard her scream, and that's, how Alicia could never understand that. But Alicia comes back and says, actually, I do, because in my dream, I keep hearing this voice tell me to go to Padre, and I don't understand it, what's going on. And that's where Arnie, or not, I keep saying Arnie, but it's Paul. Paul says, you offered to have me come with your group. Are you still up for that? Because I would like to come, and I believe that we could help each other drown out these voices. And this is kind of where they bonded. And he's like, do you trust me? And he ends up calling out Arnie to come to his house. There's this, and this was a cool scene. He's playing Beethoven super loud. Walkers are coming into the house now, and they're coming through trying to take out Paul and Alicia. And basically the scene that this is setting up is one of the most, and I was heartbroken, because I was really, feeling this Paul character. I wanted him to last longer. But this is one of the most beautiful death scenes, in my opinion, in the entire Walking Dead universe. It was almost on that Tyrese level, because to me, the Tyrese death scene was one of the most beautiful scenes in The Walking Dead. And basically, after they're going through all this fight scenes, whatever, some of the, Arnie's guys die, but he basically, and Arnie ends up shooting him in the stomach, and, Alicia's like, no, I want to save you, you're coming with me. The door's locked, Arnie's trying to get in, and he's basically saying, no, my purpose is here, I need to help you get away. And he basically is sacrificing himself, and that's one of the things I talked about in the first half of the season, that this season is going to come down to people sacrificing themselves for the better of the group. And that's what he does. And he's standing there and he starts playing the bagpipes. And it was so fitting because what we learned earlier, that how this was his wife's, and he's playing this bagpipes, that he was not really, that just wasn't his thing. And he's playing it. Arnie eventually comes in, and you see Alicia going through the, in the window, running away. This allowed Alicia to escape. You see a tear coming down his eyes, because I felt that as like, that's his way of saying, not only goodbye to Alicia, but kind of closing that door on the problems that he had with his wife, how he was hearing her scream through the walkie, and he had to endure that. And now he's kind of at peace with that, while also helping Alicia get back to her our group. And he helped her to be the leader that she was not ready to be. So if we would have jumped right into, her, fighting this war, and you look at the background of Alicia, it would not have fit that she's leading all these people that she has never done. And she was always kind of a, behind the scene. Even though she was a main character, she was never really a leader. That was her mom. That was Nick. That's definitely Morgan. And so you see him, and then just as, she's, running away, and, Arnie's got the gun pointed right at the back of his head. He shoots it. The camera pulls out to outside the house. You see the flash, and he falls. And completely heartbreaking scene. But one of the incredibly beautiful death scene. I thought it was well done. And then we get to, you see, Alicia, she's running, and this is back to her dream again. These fever dreams that she keeps having, and because something is going on with her. And then she runs up to this girl that she saw in the dream that we learned about. And I'm wondering if this is a real person that is in the group, because, Paul didn't know who because she mentioned this before, and he didn't know what she was talking about. Or is this, if this isn't a figment of her imagination, is this person known by the group, and who is this kid? But I think we're going to learn more as this goes on, as this is building more into what's going on with Alicia. Why is she sick? Why is she getting these dreams? She was bitten, had her arm cut off. Could this have been something to do with the previous season, or one of the previous seasons, with the kids were there when she got all that nuclear waste from one of the walkers, the blood basically in her face, her mouth, and her eyes? Could this be kind of part of the reason why she's getting sick? But this is something that has to be answered. And, who is this kid? But eventually, she falls, and we see back to the stream again, and you got the crossroads, and she sees that guy coming up, and she runs up to him, who she thinks is Senator Vasquez, but ends up being her. She turns around and says, "Follow me." And this is basically a moment when Alicia is starting to realize that she can be the leader that she wasn't before. This is her turning that stone to become, it's that character development that we needed from her. We haven't got a lot from Alicia. And then we see a scene with her and Morgan. Morgan is basically saying, you need to, tell me what's going on. You haven't been up front. I want an honest answer. And one of the interesting things she says is that she doesn't really, that she now learned to trust her voice, her own voice, where before she was around, like I said before, all these strong people. And she said she didn't even believe in Padre. She doesn't even think it's real. But she wants to get to this bunker to get the radio to be able to bring people to her and basically saying, we are Padre. We will keep you safe. I want to be that person, which is kind of a reflection of Madison. Again, Madison's coming. We need to build up to that. And one of Madison's biggest things is that she always wanted to find that place where her kids could feel safe, where they didn't have to worry about the stuff. And this is Alicia doing the same thing now that she has finally learned who her voice was, how she is a leader, and how she would So yeah, like I thought this was a beautiful episode. It did not every episode to me has to have that action. I love the action when it comes, but action without story is Star Wars episode 7 through 9. I said it. I'm not a fan of those, and that's what I don't want from the Walking Dead universe. Story is so important. But that being said, what did you guys think? Did you hate it? Did you hate it? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? This wasn't my favorite episode, but I don't think it deserved the hate that some are giving it out in the fandom. I thought, again, Warren Wawa Snipe was fantastic, and if you watched him on Talking Dead, I became a bigger fan of him, and I immediately followed him. He's also, deaf or hard of hearing in real life. He is a musician, incredibly talented. I'm going to put his links in here as well. I want you to check out his site, give him a follow. My shout out for this episode is going down to Sherrandy Swift, who is co-host of Squawking Dead. She does a lot of video edits with a lot of the cast from Fear, Walking Dead, that you got to see to believe, and you could possibly be a part of this too. Check her out. Her links are also in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like and subscribe. As always, I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.